You're on, Al.
See your. I don't see your script.
Well, that's okay. I don't have a script. Make
I
it
thought
up.
you did. Well,
No.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Core Ottawa. Welcome to Genesis Week. Welcome to our colleagues here today. Thank you for joining us on this podcast, this urgent live stream. You're going to find out all you need to know about angels. You're going to know a little bit more about demons. You're going to know about UFOs and maybe UAPs. It's all coming up in this episode. So we want to introduce you, of course, to the illustrious Joseph G. Jordan, and of course, Guy Malone, and the Jubinator himself, Ian Juby, and I'm Al Vachon. Welcome to this podcast.
I thought it was Guy Maloney.
Guy Maloney.
Yes.
Sure.
Ha! He's muted. Oh, sorry. There, now he's not. He couldn't even defend himself.
I thought it was AI Vachon.
Oh, you know, this is the first time I hear this. I think I'm going with that one. Welcome. I am your ignorance.
Rock on.
All right, Ian. So what's happening in this episode?
Okay. Well, okay. So how about well, let's start off with yeah, so don't be too intimidated by the outline, guys. Do you guys see what I did to these poor guys? Like, here's the outline of what we're gonna do, which what I didn't tell them was this is mostly for me to keep me on track.
Good deal.
But oh well.
Well,
you know
prepared.
what? Yeah, that's right. How about let's do the opening Bible verse, because we're going to come back to this over and over and over again. And Al, would you do us the honors and read the word of the Lord for us?
Absolutely. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. But be on guard. I have told you all things beforehand. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and great glory.
And then we're going to hammer that home tonight, or at least that's the hope. So Joe and Guy, why don't we start with you guys? Joe, would you mind telling us who you are and all that jazz? Just introduce yourselves.
Okay. Professionally, I'm a safety professional working at the Kennedy Space Center for one of the leading aerospace companies trying to get us to the moon and Mars. Actually, I work for Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company. To me, I'm living my dream for the second time. First time was working for Kennedy Space Center during the shuttle program. And then again, being able to work again in private industry and being around rockets, nothing like it. But on the other side, my private side, I'm a UFO abduction researcher. I'm the head of CE4 Research Group based out of Florida. We're hearing a terrible echo.
Yeah.
And MUFON member my whole career looking at the UFO phenomenon. Been a MUFON member since '92 and have been a state section director for Brevard County here in Florida. I was also, for a while, for a few years, the national director of South Korea, where I lived and worked supporting the military after I left the shuttle program. So a little bit about me.
Cool. Yeah, and there's so MUFON, for those of you who are not familiar, the Mutual UFO Network. I'm also a member. I'm not a field investigator or anything like that. They're actually going to come up a couple of times tonight.
Are aliens real?
Whoops. That wasn't supposed to come up. Guy, why don't we switch to you? Why don't you tell us? You're very infamous. Why don't you tell us about you yourself? You muted yourself, Guy.
I did. We were having that echo problem.
Yes.
Thank you for having me on. And greetings from sunny Roswell, New Mexico. not a native, but I've been here since 1999, minus a couple of AWOL years where I weird and well doing. But I grew up in Nashville as was a childhood experiencer of the abduction or visitor phenomena that we minister and speak of today. And I kept that quiet, kind of messed up my head a little bit when I was young. But after an event known as a suicide of a cult, Heaven's Gate, in 1997,
yes.
they killed themselves to hop on a UFO, is the TLDR. 39 people. And I wrote a webpage, which was eventually a book called Come Sail Away, UFO Phenomena in the Bible. Went on the internet, causing all kinds of trouble. And then came to Roswell, New Mexico, and didn't even mean to stay. Just wanted to drop my book in some bookstores and go home. But the UFO Museum would not carry my book because it dealt with religion, they said. The Christian bookstore would not carry it because it dealt with UFOs, they said. So I was kind of stymied and opened my own place. God's plan unfolded to get networked with Joe Jordan, Pastor Chris Ward from Florida at the time. He's now deceased. And we formed alienresistance.org as a network of like-minded Christians, or at least people that are willing to talk about the UFO topic 25 years, 30 years ago almost. We've produced a few conferences as well. Christian Symposium on Aliens, inviting credentialed authors and ministers who have books or degrees in these types of things. And we did one in 2009. And the first Christian Symposium on Aliens, it was 3 days with about 7 speakers, a 3-hour panel discussion Q&A afterwards. And this time we're going to do just the frequently asked questions. Joe and I are not going to present, we don't think. I've got some opening remarks, good 20 minutes perhaps, just to set the tone. But we are going to, those that are a little familiar with our work, that have either read one of Joe's books or watched a video of previous conferences, they're posted on that site, alienresistance.com. And pastors and church staff are going to be invited to a more intimate setting that is also live streamed, thanks to Bruce Collins and Derek Gilbert, who will be co-moderating. And not pictured because it's a new add-on, Jackie Alner is a third person that will be in the room with us. And again, it should go for hours. You need to be a pastor or a church clergy to be in the room anyway, just because it's small. I got like 40 room for 40. And if beyond that, visiting pastors and whoever else wants to come, Derek and Bruce will be fielding questions from the internet, from their followings. So we're going to, our goal is, we have stated for years, the things you've been hearing from J.D. Vance, perhaps, or Tucker Carlson, is this demonic and does the government know it? We've been saying it for decades. It is demonic. We've got the receipts. We've got the proof. Nobody in the UFO field brings evidence. I know a guy who showed me a picture of a file he heard about. No, there's never any evidence, but Joe brings, he bills himself as the evidence. I got to prove what happened in Roswell, and the demonic view of aliens is what Christians have agreed upon. So now, finally winding down, we want to, other Christians who are like-minded, they've made the choice that this is demonic. This is an end times deception. If the government says they're real, they're here, we got a problem. We got to talk. So we're going to have that talk.
Right on. So the second Christian Symposium, that's July 2nd, I believe.
Correct. Coming up.
Okay. And so explain this to me now. It's an in-person conference?
Yeah, it's a little conference, a little room I'm renting. There's seating for 40 or 50. Don't quite know yet the layout.
Okay. If
you live in Roswell and you are a pastor or church staff, and you check off that you watched one or two of the videos that we say, that's your prerequisite. The plan is not to begin with, do you believe God could have created life on other planets? That was the 2009 Christian Symposium, where all 11 respondents chimed in, and we have pie charts of the answers comparing how many of 11 said what, times 50 questions. Please watch that before you come. and you will have much better questions. And that's what we want to do. The people that are with us, that preaching to the choir. Joe and I have given these same 2 talks almost probably 10 times in Roswell, plus other cities, at other people's expenses, flying us out. We're not too good to do them again, but we're not going to do it. That's not the intent of this gathering. We're going to take the people who are a little familiar with our work, or at least versed in the topic, and they're going to say, well, wait a minute. It's a little bit advanced. This is the kind of after you've been down the rabbit hole, the buzzwords of all the weird high strangeness that you get into, and then theologically we fight about it. We are going to be nice about it. Joe's wearing the shirt, okay?
Yep.
But
I see that.
Fair warning. Non-human intelligent customs. I've done the nice guy routine here in Roswell, been the corporate 501c3 Christian, getting a little bit of support from the churches, incurring their favor, as long as they don't see me smoking out back or whatever back then. But now my measures to reach the city have gotten a little more extreme. It's fair to bill it as no more Mr. Nice Guy. And
Right.
Joe is good cop in the scenario. I'm going to be bad cop. Jackie Allner is going to come along and rebuke and correct both of us, just enough to keep it spicy.
Right on. Well, it has been a bit of a wild journey the past 3 months. I thought I would kick off tonight by starting with the timeline, because Joe and Guy and I have already been in discussions for close to 3 months already. We and let me just go through what the timeline was. So January 29th was what started all this. And it was this article. It was actually, whoops. I'm not wanting full screen layout. Sorry, StreamYard just, I don't know. They messed things up on me here.
I saw the article.
Did you?
Yeah, Trump to announce. And I am versed in the topic, so the headline was a quick read for me.
Gotcha. Okay,
You were putting something that months ago. Did you say January 29th? That somebody posted that Trump was going to reveal UFOs and aliens, right?
Yep.
Open the files.
There we go. So it was actually just a quote that was on social media. And I didn't know if the quote was even legit or not. But the fact that it didn't have any spelling mistakes or grammar errors led me to conclude that this was probably a legit quote from somewhere, and it was. I found it, and it was this article in International Business Times UK, and it was actually these lines right here. A startling claim has reignited global fascination with UFOs after British filmmaker alleged that Donald Trump has already written a historic speech confirming that humanity is not alone. According to the filmmaker, the speech is set for 8th of July, 2026, deliberately timed to coincide with the Roswell anniversary. And while no official confirmation exists, the allegation has fueled intense debate among believers, skeptics, and political commentators alike. Now, whether any of this is true or not, who knows? But this was what triggered the conversation between Joe, Guy, and I. And we figured, you know what? Let's plan on preemptively doing a live stream July 8th. Why not? This guy's expertise is specifically in the Roswell crash. Joe has, of course, his expertise in all these areas. I have my expertise. Why not? We'll do a live stream and put out a show. And then what? I don't know about you guys. I did not see what happened next as coming down the pipes. So that was January 29th. On February 5th, I had messaged you guys about this. On February 14th, there was the first of these alleged secret meetings between government officials and pastors that had been arranged, and the first of several. There was actually at least 3 that I know of that took place. It's a little difficult to know how many that were actually arranged, but this was the first one. Was February 14th. Also on February 14th, Valentine's Day, this happened.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the president of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
So that was February 14th as well. That was Brian Tyler Cohen had former President Barack Obama on his show on February 19th. So a few days later, Peter Doocy, the Fox News White House correspondent, was on Air Force One with Trump.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence? Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I need to talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, if the president can declassify anything that he wants to, so if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals.
And so that was, so then on March 17th, the U.S. government registered 2 domains, alien.gov and aliens.gov. Then also, of course, right around that time is when all these stories started coming out about the missing scientists. Al, did you have that list with you?
The list that I was looking at, it says that there are 11. I've heard that there were up to 14. 11 scientists varying from disappearances to death with no definitive reason for their death. So nothing disclosed or anything like that. And this goes back from 2022 to today. So it's 11 plus scientists that are either associated with NASA or JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories and stuff. But a lot of it is what I've found, some speculation, some fact, and all mixed together.
Right, okay. Did you get a timeline and a list?
I do have it.
Okay.
Let me see if I can locate it. I have all the names and...
if you can't, not a big deal.
Just bear with me. Oh, we'll find it.
Really? I did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
Tino's writing in that MUFON was founded in Wisconsin. Did you know that, Joe?
No, I did know. I know when it was and who was behind it, but Walt Andrus was the original founder, but I never knew where he was at the time.
Sorry, guys.
You keep adding for shock value almost weekly. Oh yeah, okay. So Google account for YouTube. I don't know who that is, but he asked, did you see some of the released footage is of Ophanim type angel? Now, I have to admit, I had never heard that word before, and just if we were in the studio waiting for Guy to show up, Al used that word for the first time I'd ever heard it in my life. So I now know what that is.
Yeah, it's from the book of Ezekiel 1:15 to 20, I believe, where it's a cherubim, in effect.
Yeah.
It's one of the highest angels that circles the throne and protects the throne of God. It's the wheel within the wheel, just inundated with eyes and wings, and he protects the throne.
I'll have to.
So
use
another
that in
word
a
for
meme
cherubim,
somewhere.
I think, is Ophanim.
Okay, I'll have to use that in a meme somewhere now.
And in addition to that,
Well, and the reason I said it is one of the images going around that were released. They're comparing one of the UFO images to the Ophanim or the cherubim.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. I'm sorry, Guy. What were you saying?
in addition, similarly, I had just posted earlier today, there's a spiky star that shows up in Egyptian hieroglyphics, modern UFOs, and 1978 Superman movie, the craft Kal-El was in.
Oh, yes.
And I ran it through Grok, and it gave me the deity that it actually represents in that era's artwork. It says, no, it's not an angel. This one is different from the one you're talking about. The wheel within the wheel, Ezekiel, that wheel type of angel. But what this says, no, is that it is associated with the goddess Inanna Ishtar / Ishtar, associated with Venus, love, war, and the morning evening star. Modern star-shaped UAPs look a lot like ancient pagan divine symbols and even sci-fi movie props. This is super grok, but it's on my Facebook page, Guy Malone. It's open, and it starts to detail. Angels are humanoid, seraphim, cherubim, stars as metaphor, blah, blah, blah. But I did run and then it even goes back and references what our conference participants, Joe Jordan, Guy Malone, Derek Gilbert, Jackie Alner would say about these things, predictably. But on my Facebook page, one of the ones that's going around that's in the Superman movie and that looks like an Egyptian hieroglyphic spiky thing is classically already known in ancient art to represent Ishtar. So that's not a UFO, and it is not them claiming it to be an angel, and it is not them claiming it to be an alien from space, whenever you see that particular one. So we've nailed down one of them. Gotcha.
Well, I got a lot of comment on that
Bravo.
star UAP, but we'll get to that.
The same Ishtar that what's his name seeing over there in Carolina? Bledsoe. You know what I'm talking about? Chris Bledsoe. He talks about the girl that visits him.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it goes by the name Ishtar.
Huh?
Why not?
So, on April 3rd, good old friend Bob Lazar goes on the Joe Rogan podcast. Last time Bob was on there, that was the most popular podcast, the most viewed podcast Joe Rogan had ever had. So they were thrilled to have him back. And of course, for those of you not familiar, Bob Lazar was the whistleblower from Area 51. He was in the S4 complex, is what he claims to have been, and he worked on flying saucer craft. And he basically went public after working there for about 5 or 6 months. And he went public and was immediately caught once he went public. And that was with our good old friend George Knapp. Once again, old George, he goes back a long ways. So also on that day, the very same day, Luigi Venditelli released his movie S4, the Bob Lazar story, which I did download. I highly recommend it. Fantastically done. Good old Canadian fellow producer from Quebec, Luigi, and he did a fantastic job on that movie. April 6th, Dr. James Lakatsky, I believe I have a screen capture of this, but I didn't put it in the queue. So let me see if I can find it real quick.
Excellent timeline, Juke, to catch people up on this, like beginning to end. This is a powerful teaching tool.
Cool. Well, thanks.
And it's spot on. I had not seen that January 29 that you opened with. There was a Redditor post quoting the same filmmaker and telling the same story and calling the date as well, July 8th.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, rats. What did I do with this? I I don't think it exported properly, or I'm not seeing it. Okay, well, I can tell you what he said. Dr. James Lukatsky, again, good old George Knapp on Channel 8 News Now, Las Vegas. So he was said in his book, with permission, which is significant. So he's a former DIA, part of the what they call the OSAP program, which was one of the U.S. programs investigating UAPs and whatnot. And he actually got permission to write in his book, the United States was in possession of a craft of unknown origin and had successfully gained access to its interior. That was April 6th on 8 News Now. May 8th, of course, just a couple of days ago, the Department of War released the first batch of the declassifying files that Trump had promised. So this is just the first batch. I got a call when I was talking with Joe and Guy. I had to drive into Pembroke, and Joe had sent me an excellent Flashpoint TV show where they had 5 of the guys that were at this alleged secret pastors meeting that the government had called, and that was a fantastic show. I mean, seldom have I ever listened to a podcast or seen a TV show that challenged and encouraged me as much as that one did. That was so fantastic. I was literally shouting at my phone in the truck. But why was I saying that? Oh yes, okay. So I was messaging you guys, voice to text. I wasn't texting while driving. I was using voice to text, and just giving you guys, my brief skinny on some of the things I was hearing. And in the middle of all this, I get a call from Eric Hovine interrupting all this and saying, "Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on the file dump that the military just did." And I'm like, file dump? Because we were all suspicious this was coming, but this was the first I'd heard of it. And I'm on the road, right? So when I did get home, I promptly downloaded all 168 files from the first batch. So that's batch number 1. They're talking files numbering in the millions, is what they're talking about, that will all have to be going through for declassification. And I want to get your guys' opinions on and predictions on what you think is going to come out in the files. Okay, so also on May 8th, News Nation had an interview with Michael Herrera and Stephen Greer. And I want to come back to this. Give me 1 second. I've got too many windows open. There it is. I believe I have it next in the queue. Oh, there it is right there. Why wasn't I seeing that? I'm getting blind in my old age or something. I don't know. Anyway, there was the Las Vegas Channel 8 News Now, and that's the link. They do have it on YouTube, so you can look it up yourself. But News Nation had an interview with the whistleblower Michael Herrera and Stephen Greer.
And of course, when he told me the story, we knew it was a man-made UFO or UAP, probably from the Lockheed Skunk Works. And the big story that no one wants to talk about is that 80% of the sightings of these objects are man-made, and they've been used in human trafficking. What he saw were crates with HVAC systems on them being loaded on to this 300-foot diameter octagonal UFO, but it was not alien, it was ours.
Okay.
And so the ones that are man-made are the dominant phenomenon being seen. There are extraterrestrial ones, or NHI, non-human intelligence, but that's probably a minority now. And this is the big story, is that the technologies behind those systems have been developed by someone called deep state, but illegal and unconstitutional programs. So,
okay, I wanted to play that because there was so much meat in those few sentences that Stephen said. including that term non-human intelligence, which we've all been hearing so much of lately. But I also wanted to focus on what he said about he's estimating probably 80% of these UAPs are man-made. I'm going to take a next step. I'm going to say it's higher than that. However, I'm going to hit that point with a few qualifiers. So looking to the future, June 8th, Steven Spielberg is releasing, ironically, what will probably be his last film called, do you guys know? Disclosure Day. Gee, what a coincidence. So Spielberg has a film coming out June 6th. And of course, July 8th is the anniversary of the Roswell crash. I don't know. We'll see if we do another live stream then or not. Eh? So, okay, so that's the timeline. What I would like to start off with is I want to go through some of the things that I've picked up on thanks to Joe and that awesome Flashpoint video, which really got me thinking. I've done a lot of reverse engineering in the past 48 hours. Let me tell you. So I want to emphasize what Stephen Greer said. The vast majority of these UAPs are man-made. I've been saying this for years already, but especially because of my personal research into anti-gravity and alternative propulsion, I've got an awful lot to say on this and an awful lot more that I can't say, unfortunately. So I'm going to try and keep things keep myself in check over what I can and cannot say. But immediately, we've already seen it. After the files were released, everyone's freaking out. They're like, because those files were pretty comprehensive. They had stuff from the Gemini and Apollo missions, from the moon landing missions, from Skylab. Plus, it was, I think, 9 or 10 videos of UAPs, several of which had not previously been seen. And the star one that we were discussing, that one, boy, was I ever doing a lot of reverse engineering with that one. But yesterday, in that Flashpoint show, one of the guests brought up a gentleman he had going by the name of Charlie that he had interviewed back in 2019. And I had to go and look it up again. And, that's right. This is important. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Truth.
Right.
Oh yeah, and I also wanted to, but we did the last time we had you guys on. By the way, I forgot to mention this. So the last time we had Joe and Guy on, that show and live stream was our second most viewed live stream of all time. You know what the first most viewed was? The show we did on the flat Earth. So we did the show on the flat Earth. The third most viewed show we did, the third most viewed live stream, was Aliens Cause Global Warming. And that was when I had special guest, my good friend Alan Montgomery, on talking about global warming. So, okay, confession time. Time to date yourselves. Did any of you guys actually have this album?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All of them.
Nope.
I had it too, and of course, this has the one that had the track, which was the title of your book, Guy, Come Sail Away.
Mm-hmm.
So I just doctored it up because today's theme is the Grand Delusion.
Well done.
So, before I get to Charlie, I guess, let me explain real quick some of my anti-gravity research and where it all stems from. We called this a lifter, and everybody and their dog was making these in the late 90s and early 2000s. Very simple. It's a piece of aluminum foil and a wire, and you charge it up to 30,000 volts, and it flies. Pretty simple. No moving parts, And people from all over the world built these things, trying to understand them. I now know that I knew NASA had messed with these, but I now know that several other aerospace companies also played with them. And so my friend and I had some major breakthroughs with this research a few years ago, and I can't divulge any more details about that, other than we did patent it, our discoveries, and we've been further developing it. The company is currently in stealth mode, which is ironic because we're building stealth flying craft. But anyway, so no moving parts. It's electric drive, no fossil fuels, and consequently, it's dead silent. So you can see the benefits, right? So if you put this on, say, commercial aircraft, you could potentially see a 747 jet take off over your head, and it would be basically noiseless. You would hear the wind whistling over the wings and going around the fuselage, and that's about it. So it has the potential to radically change the world. I got into this research because I was interested specifically in anti-gravity. And so what we worked on is not anti-gravity. I can say that much. I had to reserve my right to continue research on my own into anti-gravity because the devices are so similar to what we did, right? So bear this in mind. If you can picture, one of the things we found was how to gang these together. They're all charged up to 30,000 volts. You can't put them close to each other or you get lightning bolts, right? So we found several different ways we could do that. But if you also put these around in different patterns, you could make potentially a craft that could fly in pretty much any direction. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this a lot. And so the Confessionals podcast, this was the guest, Tony something.
Tony Merkel. Tony Merkel.
Thank you. Yeah, Tony Merkel. So Tony Merkel brought this up. And so I went back and I found the podcast that he referenced. So it was fantastic. And it was almost 3 hours long, if I recall. And I listened to pretty much the whole thing. So he had this gentleman going by the name of Charlie, who was a former special operations intelligence officer. And he was sent on a mission to recover and destroy recovered data from a downed aircraft and destroy the aircraft, recover bodies of the crew or rescue any crew. It was in potentially hostile territory. And so he described this. And I'm sorry, I really wanted to get some drawings up. But several things I wanted to point out that he said, which really caught my attention. When they finally did get to the aircraft, which took them days to get there, it was a craft unlike anything he had ever seen before. First of all, it was huge. It was about the size of a 737, which is that's big. We're not talking a small 1 or 2 passenger craft here or a drone. This thing's huge. It did have wings, but it was something like the space shuttle wings, just these really swept back, almost like airfoils rather than wings. But one of the things he mentioned, which I clued into, was that he was saying it was completely black. It was all painted black. There was no flags, no insignia, no serial number, no identification number, nothing. No identifying numbers or flags or anything, like country of origin, even though we know for fact it was American. And I'll explain why in a second. But when they got to the craft, he described this checkerboard pattern on the wings. And this checkerboard pattern was a difference in material in staggered squares on the wings. And he described some of these squares as he believed it was ceramic. And when he touched it, it was extremely cold, much colder than what was expected. right? So the moment I hear that, instantly my head is clicking in, going, wait a minute, that is probably a superconductor.
Mm-hmm.
It's ceramic, and if it's super cooled or got cryogenics on board, there's your superconductor. And so apparently they had a staggered. So I started reverse engineering here, okay? Because I'm because of my anti-gravity and alternative propulsion research, I'm thinking of this over my head. Oh, so they like staggered and did like a checkerboard pattern with apparently superconductors and either insulating or conducting or semiconducting materials on the other squares, right? And so when he got inside the craft, it was basically off the shelf conventional computers. And so he hauled out his gear. He knew how to connect to everything. He knew what data he was after because he was instructed, okay, you're going to recover this data. You're then going to destroy all the computers and all the hard drives. And he got to one computer, which there was still power on in the craft. A couple of other interesting things he mentioned. This craft had obviously crashed straight down. There was a hole in the canopy, but what you could see by that was that it did not, as a conventional aircraft would, it didn't come in on an angle and take down trees and clear a path through the forest, right? This just came straight down, and yet the craft crashed in this little gully relatively intact. It suffered very little damage as a result of crashing directly down, which in itself says a lot.
Wow.
So he gets inside and he's going through his duties and he's getting the data. That was his job: data retrieval, recover all the data, destroy the computers, destroy the hardware. Then he gets to this one screen. There was power on in the craft still, but this screen was on, and it had characters that he had never seen before. And this guy was an intelligence officer who was familiar with at least 7 different written languages. He was specifically trained to spot and identify written languages. That was part of his training. And this was a language he had never seen before, written language. And so he's trying to look up in his manual, his intel manual, trying to find this language so he can get a reference. And one of the scientists that was on the team, they actually included scientists in this team, came up and asked him, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm trying to find this language." And he said, "Don't bother looking. You won't find it." And he said, "Well, why not?" And he said, "It's Enochian language." Now, I had never heard of this before. Have you guys heard of this before? Enochian? Okay.
Not that language.
What's that?
Not that language specifically.
Okay. But Al has.
Yes. I heard about it just the other day, actually, for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this scientist, this may surprise some people to hear him say this. It was a scientist, but you're actually going to hear from another very, very famous scientist in a few minutes who is going to say essentially the same thing. So this scientist tells them, "Don't bother looking. That is a demonic language. You will not find it in your manual." This really caught my attention. So we know for a fact this was an American craft. This was an American Special Operations Force sent in to recover data from a craft. The Americans knew where it crashed. They knew to go in and recover data. They were sending them to recover this data. They destroyed all the equipment and the craft, which is typical. That's the modus operandi. If you have a downed military aircraft in hostile territory, you destroy that aircraft so it cannot be used by anybody else, which includes the computers. That's a very important thing. So end of discussion. This was an American craft. So very quickly, here is the Enochian script. And it is a demonic script. I forget the guys who, there was two guys in his, I think in the 1800s that originated.
1500s. John Dee. His name was John Dee and Edward Kelly. 16th century.
16th century. Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's an occultic language. So this is very, very interesting and will become very important in a few minutes. So because I already was familiar with another story where strange script that was unrecognizable to the scientists came up in a strange flying craft. And you guys may even know where I'm going with this. So this was from the S4, the Bob Lazar story, the movie that just came out. Luigi Venditelli did a fantastic job of this. By the way, Al, so our children's show that we're going to be developing through CORE, the Tech Valley Science Center, it's an animated children's creation science show and science education show. We're going to be doing all the graphics and animation in Blender. And so Luigi did all the graphics and animation in this movie in Blender. Just fun little
That's amazing.
fun fact. And Luigi did an absolutely fantastic job. Luigi, if you're watching this, kudos, man. And I did attempt to contact Luigi. So Luigi, if you happen to be catching this, you're about to find out why I wanted to ask you if you had discussed discussed with Bob Lazar the Falcon Lake UFO from here in Canada. You're about to see why in just a minute. So Luigi, by the way, Joe, I think I mentioned this. Luigi is MUFON. I believe he's a field investigator here in Quebec. So anyway, Luigi, what he's got depicted here, this is inside the flying saucer craft that Bob Lazar was working on at Area 51. And he described these walls inside the saucer craft that when it was energized, when you powered up the craft, one of these walls became transparent. You could actually see through it. And half of that wall, that transparent wall, lit up with this strange text and characters that was unlike anything he had ever seen. Now, so I'm going somewhere with this, so I hope you guys will be patient with me here.
Listening. Mm-hmm.
So let's go to Falcon Lake, Manitoba. Now, Joe and Guy, I don't know if you guys remember this. I mentioned this last time you guys had on the show. This is the landing site of the Falcon Lake UFO. This is in Falcon Lake, Manitoba. And I actually went to the site. You have to go there on horseback. And Joe from the Miracle Channel, brought me out there. And so we went to the site. This is probably the best, if not one of the best, most well-documented UFO encounters of all time. And what I forgot to mention last time, this is the actual landing site. And the guy's name was Stephen Mihalik. He was Polish. And when he was out there prospecting. And so there's your nice quartz vein. He was prospecting for, I believe, precious metals. But after the UFO landed, he sat there for a while. And after it left, he came back to the site. I'll explain more of the story later. But he came back to the site a few months later, found his shirt that he had ripped off. He also found some molten metal in here, in the cracks in the rock. And he took this molten metal with them, and they actually sent those samples to Ottawa, on here in Ontario, which is about 2,000 kilometers away. And the metal was so radioactive that they sent scientists out from Ottawa to fly all the way up to Falcon Lake, because about 20 miles west of here was a nuclear waste dump where they had buried nuclear medical equipment. And so these guys in Ottawa are looking at this samples and they're like, these are really hot. Like, what is going on here? And this is in the middle of a provincial park. They almost closed down the entire provincial park because these samples were so radioactive. And they figured, okay, these guys, they didn't get these metals from this site. They must have gone and been digging around in this nuclear waste dump. And so they sent researchers out to go check out the nuclear waste dump and make sure that it wasn't disturbed, and it wasn't. So then they go back to this site. This was the first site in all future UFO research now includes a radiological survey whenever they can. So Joe, have you ever done radiological surveys in any of your investigations, Joe? I'm just curious.
Not in investigations, but in line of work.
I see. Okay. Because it became a habit by UFOologists in the future after this event. This was 1967. And so in 1967, this is what triggered and what started UFOologists and UFO researchers to do radiological surveys of UFO encounters and the sites, right? And this is what started.
It's part of the MUFON training, field investigator training that you go through.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually in the field investigator's manual, teaches you how to properly go in. And if you're going into a site and you've got a Geiger counter, it teaches you how to go through the whole pattern process to work your way in. It's, I've had issues about that, the investigator manual for some time. As a safety professional, I don't think they're actually pushing enough and hard enough about the hazards of possibly going into a zone of a crashed craft, not knowing what is there, what was on it, what powered it. We want to go in right away, of course we do, and get the information first, right? But I don't think they're teaching it hard enough, the hazards that you can encounter.
Right. I brought my Geiger counter. So here's what happened. So Mihalik is out there in the middle of nowhere in the bush, and he's sitting on rocks, eating his lunch across from this or beside this pond, and not really paying much attention. And there was some geese in the pond, and they were suddenly startled and flew off. And he looked up, and here was this flying saucer craft hovering dead silent above him. Not a single noise. It lands probably about 150 feet away at that site I just showed you. And Mihalik was intrigued by this. He's looking at this. He never thought, aliens. It never crossed his mind. In fact, he just thought it was some new spacecraft or some new aircraft that he wasn't familiar with. So he was fascinated by this. He's like, "Oh, cool, man! I gotta check this out." So he sat there for 40 minutes. He sat there and made this drawing of the craft. And Joe, do you remember what you said last time we had you on the show and I showed you this picture?
I'm trying to remember. I'm looking for that picture that was similar to it. This is, Guy, do you remember that conference I did here in Florida?
I do.
Remember when we had the MUFON investigator here, the head of investigations? Remember, he showed this picture.
I thought, okay, I believe you.
Yeah.
It didn't, I couldn't place it. I wasn't like ringing with recognition, but I was like, have I seen that before? Or what? I was more like in my head, what book is that from? Because I've got man-made UFOs and Nazi UFO books. When I got up earlier, I turned on my air conditioner. Is it too loud? Is it messing up the audio?
Nope.
Okay, that's why I muted. Good.
Okay.
Start.
But Al's is getting a really bad echo, but that's fine. If you want to say something now, just unmute yourself. Okay, thanks. Anyway,
and if I'm not mistaken, let me recap. This is the drawing of the American craft that was black ceramic superconductor that he was inside destroying all the data, correct?
No.
And
No.
No.
This is 1967 in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
That skipped. That's what it was.
Yeah. So this is in Canada, 1967. Think about that for a second. But Joe, what you said when I showed this picture last time, you said that's the Bob Lazar craft.
Yeah, the S4 craft. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. What he dubbed the sport model, and of course, if you get the S4 movie, you can see for yourself because Luigi did an excellent job of modeling it, and you can compare it for yourself. I totally agree with Joe, and this is very significant for a bunch of different reasons. Notice the date. So when Bob Lazar was at S4, that was December 88 through about May or June of 89. That was when he went on TV with George Knapp. They disguised his identity, but of course they instantly knew it was him when he showed up on TV that night, because he had a call within the hour with them breathing threatenings. Do you have any idea what you've done and what we're going to do to you? So the reason I bring this up is because I totally agree. That is no doubt to me the S4 craft. In fact, the Condon report, I'll come back to that. The Condon report actually included this UFO encounter. So when Mihalik reported this, the RCMP investigated. The what would become the National Research Council of Canada investigated. The Canadian military investigated. The U.S. military investigated. Mihalik never once did he suggest, oh, it's an alien craft. To him, he was convinced this was an American craft. He didn't understand it. When he went over to the open door, which I'll explain in a minute, he stuck his head in. He heard voices. To him, these were human voices. He just couldn't understand what was being said because of the echoes inside the craft and stuff like that. But to him, this was people in the craft, and he offered to help them get flying again. He figured they broke down, and there was actually two of them. This one landed. There was another one that was hovering a ways off, and it flew off before he went up to it and approached it. So the Condon report, which was put together by the U.S. military, they actually included this encounter. So notice, nobody talked about aliens. Nobody thought of it. Nobody mentioned it. But the Condon report, this is what convinced me it was an American craft. The Condon report talks about him. They refer to him as Mr. A. Anonymous, that's the name they gave him. If Mr. A's reported experience were physically real, it would show the existence of alien flying vehicles in our environment. So the bovine scatology is strong with this one. Okay, this is classic disinformation. Nobody talked about aliens. Who brought up aliens? Nobody. Mihalik didn't think it was aliens. The RCMP didn't think it was aliens. NRC didn't think it was aliens. The Canadian military didn't think so. Why on earth did the U.S. military go from 0 to aliens in 0.25 seconds? Why? So just very quickly, and this is one of the reasons I want to talk to Bob Lazar, you'll notice these ports with holes in them. Mm-hmm. So, and there's the open door. So basically when this craft landed, these doors opened up on the side and it just sat there like that for at least 40 minutes while Mihalik did this drawing. And after 40 minutes, he's a mechanical engineer. He figures, okay, it's an American flying saucer, some craft, and maybe they're broken down. So I'll go offer assistance, get them up and flying again. So he goes over and he sticks his head in the door and says, okay, Yanks, if you come on out, I can maybe help give you a hand and we can get you flying again. And the voices inside went silent. and there was no response. And so he was multilingual. He was from Poland. He spoke, I think, 4 or 5 different languages, and he tried to communicate with these people in 4 or 5 different languages, and no response. He put his hand on the side and leaned in farther, and instantly melted his gloves. And he noticed that there was no seams on the outside of the craft, which is exactly what Bob Lazar described of the sport model that he worked on at S4. And so when he stood back after burning his hand, things happened in rapid succession. The doors closed. This thing started to lift off. It rotated slightly. And now suddenly when it rotated, because he was standing right here at the door, when it rotated, these vents blasted him with a jet of hot gases that he described as smelling like sulfur and ozone. And when he did, it set his shirt on fire and burnt it. You can actually see the burn pattern in the shirt. And it also burnt him. Now, these burn marks, this is a couple months afterwards. So these burn marks, originally it was only, it would be, I guess, 3rd degree burns. Is that how that works, where you get blisters?
That's right.
That's 3rd degree? Okay.
That's right.
So he had 3rd degree burns in this upper quadrant of pockmarks. They were all 3rd degree burns. All these others were just, they hurt, but he wasn't that burnt, right? But this was months afterwards. What would happen is this pattern of, be it chemical burns or heat burns or whatever, it would come and go. It would, so this is a few months after, you can see the burn pattern actually reappeared. Then it would go away for a while, and then it would come back again. And this happened for quite some time, years, if I recall, afterwards. So another interesting point, when this craft took off, everyone thinks of flying saucers as flying this way, flat. That is not the way this craft flew. When it lifted off, rotated, tilted, and flew in the direction of the tilt. And gee, where have I heard that before? Bob Lazar and the S4 craft. This thing matches in even the description in the way it flies. So this is from 1967. Bob Lazar wasn't at S4 until 1988. So here is my opinions. There are my opinion. I believe that guy, this gets into your territory. With the Roswell crash, you are quick to bring up Operation Paperclip. Could you explain to everyone what Operation Paperclip was real quick?
Yes, real quick. In fact, there were German scientists, some will say inspired by Helena Blavatsky, Wicked Fallen Angel channeling technology. But that aside, I don't even say that in my lecture. But German scientists were building advanced crafts going faster. They were V-shaped like the stealth bomber. They were the precursor to the stealth bomber. I have pictures of what the Germans had like one working model of in 1944, 1942. A CIA historian says that if Hitler had gotten these craft into production within 6 months, it would have changed the outcome of the war entirely. But Operation Paperclip was, we took those Nazi scientists who were doing things like human experimentation and criminals, and we put them on our payroll in in White Sands Proving Grounds, New Mexico, in Wright Field, Dayton, Ohio, and in Fort Bliss, Texas. And they continued developing. So when you take the witnesses of the Roswell crash, where I live, and you take the drawings of what they claimed that they cleaned up, and you put it on a PowerPoint side by side with what the German scientists, the actual photos from 1944, you're like, it's the same picture. You know, you don't need corporate to tell you which is which. It's a shoe-in. Surprised I don't even have the book lying around with me right now. I could hold up some pictures. But that is Operation Paperclip. The President Eisenhower specifically said no practicing Nazis were to be brought into the country, but we needed the tech. And the CIA, or the group that became the CIA, paperclipped fake bios on top of their real records, to where you read the first 2-3 pages, you're like, fine, let them in, let them in. Yep. But the Argentine and the Russian governments were getting their hands on as many scientists as they could as well. So we are now World War II superpower, and we have a title to defend, and other people are taking those scientists to their country to develop that craft. We did the same, and we kind of lied about it. We believe that the Roswell UFO crash was, again, the pictures go side by side, the testimonies match perfectly, that it was an American craft that was being tested, that went down. And yeah, they were threatened with death if you talked about it. There's possibly human experimentation involved, and the metal itself, the memory metal that bent back, was nitinol, probably invented in 1932. Wikipedia tells you about it. But the Operation Paperclip itself was bringing the German scientists into America and keeping it classified for decades. It wasn't until a couple books came out in the 70s. I think it's the 70s. Operation Paperclip was one of them, and the hunt for the Nazi scientists. There are two, but it's very well documented. The X-Files even have a episode called Paperclip. Right. But until about 2006, I think is what I documented, you would not find any media mention of this at all. Once Linda Hunt went through the Freedom of Information Act, she got so much stuff out of them writing her book that they gave her a bill for almost $250,000 in search fees. I document it in the lecture because they were trying to scare her off, I reckon. But yeah, German scientists are behind the UFO crash.
She's a woman of focus.
What?
She's a woman of focus. I'm
trying
to think of that. I'm trying to think of that.
I think that search fee fine or whatever got thrown out of court.
Okay.
But
okay. Well, the reason I bring that up is because the Soviets also had that, as you very briefly mentioned. So Operation Paperclip was what, about 1,000 scientists?
I didn't know it was that much. The original was like 100, 112, and then they continued recruiting for years. I actually quote some of the letters in the 1950s where the laboratories are just openly talking about, they're doing oxygen deprivation experiments and they're prisoners of war, and we look forward to bringing in more scientists from Germany to staff the Air Force being trained at Patel. You know, it was just the documentation from like George Washington archives and stuff that can be found on this. It's horrifying. I mean, you would believe we're the good guys. We don't know. We did everything the bad guys were doing in the name of science, in the name of winning the war and keeping the title. And it was classified. And if you talked about it, you got death threats or you got killed.
Yep. Removed. So, okay. I apologize. We got to get moving here. I've been dragging on way too long. The reason I bring all this up is because the Russians also did the same thing, and they took over forcefully often, somewhere between 6,500 and 15,000 people. And again, bear in mind, the Soviets were the ones who captured the eastern portion, and they took the scientists from the site, which allegedly is what produced the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Which were harassing.
Neat.
What's that?
Neat.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, good for you.
Yeah. And so they were the Foo Fighters were UFOs that were harassing the militaries, the Allied forces.
Both sides claimed they were being harassed, though.
Yes, there was some talk from the Germans. Those
just some.
I haven't been able to. It was really only boils down to like one or two, and those are questionable. I don't want to ignore them, but there was too many questions.
Thank you.
So I'm not so sure about them, especially because that's important for my point here. Is if it was the Germans who were making the Foo Fighters, which is what I would contend. And the Russians got all that tech because they were the ones that got that site where allegedly the Foo Fighters were developed and flown out of. It's the same site that they were flying the V2 rocket out of, for example, and developing all that. The Russians were the ones. What's that?
The launch complex at Peenemünde.
Could be.
It's a German location. That's where the V2s are flying out of.
Okay, it was in that area. I don't think that was it, but anyway, the reason I bring all this up is because when Bob Lazar, he mentioned this on Joe Rogan's podcast, which I don't recall ever hearing him say this before, and he also mentioned it in the S4 documentary. When he first got to S4, he said there was Russians there. And got to remember, this is in the heart of the Cold War. What were Russians doing over there? And he didn't know. All he knows is that they did something that ticked off people higher up so much that they kicked them off the property. They kicked them out of the base. I believe, I would contend that craft, the sport model that Bob Lazar refers to, personally, I think that was a Nazi craft designed and built by the Germans, brought over to the U.S., and the reason the Russians were there was because the original scientists were either dead or taken by the Russians. And so this is why Bob and the team were trying to reverse engineer this craft. The technology and the brains had effectively been lost. And we know the Nazis were open about their occultic practices in trying to get occultic information for their tech, trying to divinate, high tech. And that's why I think that may have been occultic text appearing on this extremely high tech craft that was at the S4. And so if we line all this up with Mahalik in Manitoba in 1967, that's pushing, if that is the same craft, and I think it is, then that just goes to show you how long the U.S. has had that craft, going back to at least 1967, long before Bob Lazar came along, but after World War II, conveniently. So anyway, okay, I got to move along here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. The point I want to make with all this is exactly what Greer said, in that I'm going to take it a step farther than Greer said. I'm going to say 99% of what is going to come out in the disclosure files is man-made. But Joe, last time we had you on, you had speculated, you had referred to, I forget who it was, but you had speculated to a couple of experiencers in the U.S. military who had talked about this technology they had. You also speculated, okay, well, what's the possibilities that maybe these were demonic craft and they left something behind, perhaps. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Vaguely? Okay. I realize it was a long time ago. So the point I want to make here is I'm going to predict, and I want to get you guys to jump in with your predictions of what you think is going to come out. But I'm trying to look forward, look ahead, so we can help our fellow believers be prepared, so they're not too freaked out, as people have already been freaked out just by the videos and the stuff that's been released so far, which is frankly pretty docile stuff.
You're right.
But very little of that, I believe, is going to be supernatural. However, let's go down that for a minute. Hey, Al, would you mind sharing with us your baritone voice and read the scriptures for us?
Sure. And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha.
So in this case, Elisha or Elisha, or however we pronounce his name, was with his servant, and his servant was freaked out because these armies were coming for them, and he prays and he asks the Lord, open his eyes so he can see. And he sees this army of angels with chariots of fire and horses. So what we have here is a biblical example of just what angels can manifest. They can manifest chariots. Obviously, they're not showing up naked. They're wearing clothing, so they can manifest clothing. They can presumably manifest armor. They can apparently manifest horses as well. But that's not all. Would you mind doing this one too, Al?
Then the Lord spoke to the angel, and he put his sword back into his sheath.
And this is when the angel of the Lord showed up with a sword and killed a whole pile of the Israelites because David had taken a census, King David. And so notice this angel is not just manifesting metal. He's killing people with it. This is a real sword. So let's ask a question. We are coming to, as you read at the beginning, Jesus warned us of a great delusion at the end times. And I would dare say, perhaps, this disclosure thing that's going on, perhaps that is the start of the final great deception. In which case, we really have something to look forward to, because we just read what happened immediately after that. Christ comes back. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you for pointing that out. All of us end times doomers and gloomers, and the end is nigh. We forget the best part.
Yeah. So apparently the Lord is going to release this great deception. Perhaps this is the start of that great deception. So as part of that, if demons are simply fallen angels, and then presumably they have the same abilities as angels. So in other words,
asterisk.
That's right. I'm going to get to that one. I'm still getting to that one. I think that was a man-made craft, by the way, just so you know. And I'm going to show why I say that, but that is not to rule out some of those other stuff, because I did see some of those other images. I couldn't verify or refute them. I have no idea where they came from. I only have the video that was released yesterday, right? So my question is, let's say the Lord now is permitting a demon to, say, manifest a sword or a spacecraft. And the Lord is now permitting him to leave that behind when he departs and goes back to his dimension. Now
to help perpetrate the delusion.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
What would that sword look like if we were to do a metallurgical analysis of it?
It would be made, odds are, it would be made of everything that we know of. It may look like we couldn't put it together that way, but physics are physics. The universe is made of certain elements, and that's all there is. We're not going to see something that's going to be outside of our, outside of the, periodic table. You're going to see the same thing. The same thing is it's part of creation. It's not going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may be an alloy that they say, when you hear this a lot, they say they've got alloys that we couldn't put together. Well, God can put them together, but it's still, the parts of that alloy is still things that we already have.
Right.
You're suggesting they're just cooking up a new recipe. The ingredients have been there the whole time.
Yep.
The whole time. But
Yes.
It's the difference between a word of knowledge and a word of wisdom. So to where you just practically apply all of this information into a new thing or a new craft. It's not magic. It's not supernatural. It's just, you have not added these elements together before. You have not eaten this berry before. Oh, that one kills humans, so don't eat that berry and put it in any more recipes. But it's expanded that. You you've tapped the entire knowledge base, and now you're adding new ideas, perhaps.
Right. And if I can, give me 1 second here. I got to look something up real quick because I lost it in my notes. Oh. I forgot I'm doing the screen sharing thing. So it's messing everything up.
I got a couple of comments on your timeline if you need me to kill time for you.
No, it's okay. So to throw another monkey wrench into the deal, something Bob Lazar mentioned in 1989 on the S4 sport model aircraft, the Flying Saucer, he claimed they were working with a stable element called 115, which at that time did not exist on the periodic table. That wasn't discovered until 2006. So, and interestingly, it was Russians who discovered it. What a coincidence. So my question again comes back to this. Okay, if that was, say, for example, actually, let me put this a different way. Perhaps what I think is going to happen, all these man-made craft we're going to find out that they have been demonically inspired. So humans built them, but they were instructed by demons, is what I'm suggesting. So I think we may be seeing a lot of that. And
I agree in general concept. Yeah. Maybe not the exact same words, but yeah, you're right, I believe.
Right. And I'm probably poorly explaining it. Okay. Let me go to this real quick, and then I want to go to your predictions. So because we've already been at it an hour and a half, and I apologize. This was one of the. Where did it go? There's Peter Ducey. Oh, I'm in the wrong file, wrong folder. That's why. Here we go. Okay. So the majority of the can you guys see that? It's pretty small.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that is one of the UAPs. The majority of these UAP videos, this one's a little different. It's got something hanging down underneath it. It's like it's a cargo UAP. And it's actually got a payload.
That's not a reflection?
Nope. So this is an infrared. So both that would be.
Oh, that's Jeff Bezos trying a new delivery drone.
It could be. It could be. Joe, do you have any knowledge about this?
Right up your alley, bro.
Okay, what's this one? This is another one. Again, it's pretty small on the screen. You know what? I'm going to put this full screen so people can see it a little better.
You know, as a trained investigator,
yes,
these videos are worthless. They don't give you anything.
Thank you for saying it.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing. I wish I had more. My point is, in all of these videos, it's almost always a spherical object.
Sure,
fascinating.
You know the monthly reports that come from MUFON.
Yep.
The number one, they give a breakdown in the report of how many sightings per country, per state, and then they get into another one of what the sightings look like, how many look like this, and they start with the number one. And number one is a glowing sphere. You don't get to a flying saucer till you get way down the list.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to add that most people I follow just on Facebook that are in ufology, they've already come out and said that these files that were released recently anyway, and we know it's just the first wave, it's a big nothing burger. It's things we've seen before. Some of it has actually been debunked. And it's like all the government they've not advanced any knowledge. They've simply advanced a narrative that they want the public believing.
Yep.
And people are already getting freaked out about this. So I'm very glad you brought that up because I agree. This one is kind of fun. I do want to make a couple points. Because we have it flying past the windmills, we can get an approximate scale. Oh, come on. So if we put it right next to it,
I see, yeah.
The nacelles on these windmills are typically about 50 feet long. So you can get a scale approximate. So it's probably around, 10 feet in diameter, quick guess. Maybe
but
as big as 15.
It's not telling us whether it's close to the object or close to the camera.
Correct, except you can see it.
You can see some of them overlapping some of the windmills.
I believe it goes in between them. I might be wrong on that though. That's in front. That's in front. That's in front. That's in front. Okay. That went behind that one.
Behind.
So it's flying in between them. My main point is it's another sphere. This is like you guys said, and I'm glad you mentioned it. This is old hat. This is a new video. I have not seen this previously.
Me neither. I don't mean to be disparaging.
Yeah. No, but it's important you say that. Now, this is completely new. This one I have been dissecting for days. This one is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to pause it in just a second. I'll pause it right there.
Nice.
So I want to point out a number of things. Again, remembering, you guys remember the lifter I showed you?
Mm-hmm.
So it would appear we only have one angle of this thing. I'm going to take a guess. We're looking end on. So we're looking through the craft. And I would dare suggest that these star spikes are really just basically my lifter that I showed you. Something like that, okay?
I'm going to object to your use of the word craft, leading the witness.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to refresh the, we'll do it later, but the pictures I showed from Facebook earlier, it's that. And it's 1978 Superman.
Yes. However, there's a couple other things I want to point out, which is why I'm using the word craft.
Okay.
In particular, something I noticed, okay, I got to be careful what I say here. Those lifters, I personally think there is something else going on there besides ionic wind. Even the Mythbusters did an episode on those lifters, and they just wrote it off as ionic wind. Back in the early 2000s, when I was playing with them, I wrote them off as interesting but useless. And it wasn't until 5 or 6 years ago when I revisited them because of a paper by 2 U.S. Army Labs guys, where they experimented with those lifters and they said, hold up, this thing is producing a minimum of 3 times more thrust than we can account for with ionic wind. And that was if they really fudge factored the numbers. It was more like 7 times more thrust. There was something else going on there. Further to that, if you take similar devices, NASA has done this, 2 other scientists that I know of have stuck these in a vacuum chamber, and it still produced thrust. If you have no wind, if you have no air, you have no wind. So is it anti-gravity? I don't know. All I'm saying is there's something more going on. There is another force at play here. So if this craft is something like that, and it's, say, operating on anti-gravity, then suddenly this structure makes a whole mess of sense. Because now, if I turn this one on more power than this one, it's going to pull it in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or apply more power to this one, it's going to go up. It basically moves it around. The other thing I learned, which I will say this much, I now know that those lifters produce no visible trail in infrared. This was very important for my research because if we're going to use this on, say, military craft, it's a silent drive, right? So, but if it shows up like a bright spotlight in FLIR, in forward-looking infrared, well, that doesn't do you a whole lot of good. You just lost all your stealth capability.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I won't say the reasons why I was even asking the question, but I genuinely did not know if it would produce a visible infrared trail or not. This one does. And it is the first one I've ever seen that does. If you look very carefully, as it moves around, and I've really wrestled with this one. Could you see that white line?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a very clear emission trail of some kind. I'm still wrestling with whether that is an artifact of the infrared and it's literally the camera is just getting saturated. The problem is that trail is sticking around way, way, way too long.
Yeah.
And that's where I have an issue. It's difficult to tell if it's the camera tracking and movement that's doing that, but I have to conclude it is actually leaving an emission trail. This is the first
now,
one.
It also seems that it's being emitted by the center.
Yes.
Not one of the
good point.
Extremities.
Yes. And on top of that, what would happen if you put a cowling around this thing?
A what?
A cowling. Like a body around it. So perhaps this thing, because we can't see it from the side, perhaps it is spherical in shape, and it's just this one doesn't have the outer skirt. So all those other spherical UFOs that we're seeing videos of, perhaps this is what they look like on the inside.
On the inside.
I don't know. I have no idea. But this one really caught my attention. And so this is one of the other ones that I've been reverse engineering in my head. And I wish I could tell you what's been going through my head. Okay.
It seems like it mimics the wheel within the wheel thing, just the turn, the axes and everything like that. It has the ability to like turn on a dime, but that's the wrong phrase. Once you're dealing, I know this kind of from dance a little bit, is that you've got your left, right axes, you got your up, down axes, but then you've also start going more like Neo in the Matrix, and it becomes sort of infinite. And I literally do compare that to the angel you mentioned, the wheel, the Orpheum. I don't even say it right, but the wheel within a wheel it looks to me like the mentality of that angelic, or I'm going to say the Matrix. Once you have 3 or 4 different axes to operate from, that's where you wind up. And I'm a little like we see in the Matrix, and I'm beginning to think that if physics can be broken into the miraculous or the supernatural, there's something about this factor is where physics might be able to bend a little bit, like if you're getting into the miracles and supernatural and trying to break it down scientifically. But to me, that is imitating or replicating, or actually is something more like that wheel within a wheel, Ezekiel 1. And that's not technology, that's a being. But that, I'll agree with you. I'll use your word. That craft is mimicked that style of motion.
Yeah, and is it perhaps demonically inspired human build?
Yeah, I'm a big Book of Enoch fan. You know,
Right.
whole Fall of Watchers. Yeah.
Okay. So
Ian,
one more
got a question.
Yes.
In the theory of this,
yep,
you say that they recorded it hovering in a vacuum, but it's still under gravity.
Not hovering, just producing a thrust.
Just producing a thrust.
And
in
it was
a vacuum.
very weak thrust? Yes.
But it was also under gravity.
Correct.
Would theoretically this even work in a non-gravity like space environment?
Yes. The NASA one, which is public knowledge, it's been patented actually. The NASA one, it was unusual. It was a tube with insulators and metallic cap, if you can picture that.
Mhm.
Charge it up to high voltage, it produces a thrust in the direction of the cap, even in a vacuum.
But
Amazing.
a vacuum on Earth still has gravity affecting it.
Correct.
Well, I'm
And the
asking
way-
about, would this theoretically work outside the Earth where there is
Yes.
no gravity?
Yes, it would work better.
So it's not fighting gravity with the thrust.
Correct.
Correct.
And it wouldn't be able to because the thrust wasn't strong enough. So it's actually pretty useful in space, pretty useless on Earth. And that was where we were getting major breakthroughs, which, as we now know, major aerospace companies did not get these breakthroughs. We did.
We being repeated.
Myself and some other unnamed individuals. And yes, let's just leave it at that. I can't say anything more at this point in time. Right. So we're still in stealth mode.
I got a question I got to throw out there.
Yes.
If these things are man-made craft,
yep,
that we've developed a technology, then why in the world do we have the two richest men on the planet still using rockets?
A very good question.
It's a dog and pony show.
And it's all black tech.
I'm going to go back to the beginning of this when you played the clip of Trump and Presidents Trump and Obama. I'm
Yeah.
calling that was scripted. Trump's answer was so cool and classic. He gave authority to what Obama claimed without actually, it was a trick.
Yep.
Oh, that's classified. He's not supposed to be talking about that, which is the same as saying it's true. No,
Yep.
that was scripted. I want to go back to that you don't get Tucker Carlson, J.D. Vance, and half a dozen media personality talking heads all of a sudden wondering, could UFOs be demonic without there being a Mockingbird effect script in play right now?
Right.
I'm just going to say that's not our topic tonight. But as far as even the beginning of this, I've been like, there's something unfolding. The plan is bigger than we're going to figure out, but we are the useful idiots that the plan accounts for. The reason this is in the press right now is because they want to shake out all the evangelicals, get us to kind of get ourselves on the watch list, expose it. We're going to have our say in Roswell. We all see what's happening on YouTube now. We're going to get it out of our system. And then the news cycle is going to go away. And disclosure in UFOs is not going to be a thing again. But they will have advanced a narrative for decades in this year alone of what Americans believe about aliens. And that narrative is useful for them. They can fake or make any claims they want to, whether you're on the fake alien invasion side of it or whether you're on the rapture is going to be explained away side of it. But I'm just here to tell you, everything they're giving us, they've known for a long time. And I think what we're doing is actually, ever since Nick Redfern's book on the Collins Elite and Final Events, to where the War Department, the Pentagon, has been fighting over knowing UFOs are demonic and whether or not to release it and whether or not we should be playing with that technology or not. They have expected what was coming this summer. We are part of their plan, but God is bigger. God has a plan that they don't comprehend yet, and we're part of God's plan.
Amen.
I just had to get some fiction out of me, guys. All this science I don't understand.
I'm sorry.
I'm a rocket man.
Yeah. Well, and Joe, just to bring a quick response to, unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the magazine, but back in the 90s, I can get a reference for you later on if you want. It was an aerospace magazine, and several black tech workers, including some who worked on the B-2 stealth bomber, actually broke their silence, broke secrecy, and they didn't tell much, but they were trying to press the military to release some of this tech to be used on commercial craft, to release it to the public, which would include commercial aircraft. And of course, everybody at the time was like, why would you want why would you want commercial aircraft to be invisible to radar? Well, that's not what they were talking about. They were talking about alternative propulsion, is what they were talking about. So, anyway, but
also,
we got
to the rocket thing. We have a whole dependence on oil myth to maintain. That's
Right.
why we don't get free energy. Just
That's a
throwing
fact.
that out
Yes.
there. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip the rest of my stuff because we're way over time. I want to get you guys your predictions. So I pretty much said my predictions. So I want you guys to give your predictions. What do you think is going to come out in the next file dumps? What do you think is going to be released? What do you think is not going to be released? We also got a pile of questions in from the comments. I would like to go through. What would you guys like to do first? Would you want to give your predictions and opinions?
Go, Joe.
Predictions and opinions. There's going to be more of the same for sure.
Okay.
They're not going to make a claim of what this is. They can't.
Okay.
The government can't be the ones to make the claim. And we've seen this with Louis Elizondo the whole time he's been out. The whole thing is he's making it so that we make the decision.
Yeah.
Not them. They will never make the decision. They want us to make the decision. And they're using overwhelmingly crazy information to guide that decision on what they want us to make. The problem is us evangelicals are going to be a pain. Too bad.
Oh, and you got to show us your shirt. Can you give us a close-up of your shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Non-human intelligent
customs enforcement.
That's awesome. And you can't buy that shirt yet?
No, I'm going to have to make them available on a what do you call it, merch site, because I got too many people asking. This is part of the costume that I'm doing at the UFO festivals that I'm going to this year. We're going to be doing it in Roswell. We talked about this. To get a book table or a vendor table costs you anywhere from $250 to $500, depending on the conference. You got to sell a lot of stuff just to break even. Not going to cover your trip and everything else, and cover the expenses of the books. So we decided, the books are out there. They're on Amazon. There's plenty of social media to get the information out there. Plus, we can actually go in costume, get people's attention. Hey, I want your picture. And hey, while you've got my picture, take this flyer, which has all the free information. We just released our new documentary called Deception, and we want to make sure everybody's got a free opportunity to do that. I'm headed to McMinnville, Oregon next weekend. I'll be at the McMinimans UFO Festival up in McMinnville, Oregon. I don't have an opportunity to speak at the festival. I do have an opportunity to speak 2 times at a church that's holding me. And we want to make sure everybody at the festival has an opportunity to come here, a free speech from an investigator, unlike the ones they're charging at the festival. Plus, we're giving the free documentary that they can watch also. So that's what we'll be doing, is handing out flyers. On the other side, on the one side of the business card is a scan code that if anybody takes it, it says scan me. Of course, they got to see what it is. So that's going to open them up to the documentary for free. On the other side is all the information for CE4 research. So if they keep the card, they get curious, they can go in and see more information on what we have. I think that we can reach a lot more people. Guy talked about this, getting in the position to where people want to talk to you and want to take your picture because you're in costume. So the whole costume, the whole nice costume I have, I sent you the picture, by the way, on your messenger. I'm in full tactical gear. Okay. And
nice.
I'll actually be carrying a small wanted poster with me, so people know that that's what we're up to. But the idea is have men in black people walk with me. Okay. So that we're all part of the same forces. What's the Men in Black motto? Defending the earth against the scum of the universe. Isn't that what we do? Okay. So hopefully one or two of the people in Roswell that'll be there with us will go the Men in Black route with me. Guy's got his own costume. I'm going to be when I'm at McMinnville, in McMinnville. I'll be in my full tactical gear. I've got a gentleman that's invited me up there last year, and he invited me back this year. That working with me, his name's Donald McKay. He's going to be in the MIB costume with me. So the first time to try it out will be this coming weekend up in Oregon.
Right on. I just thought of a question I really wanted to pitch to you guys. And this is, I think it's a very important question. I want to hear from any of you. So if in the files, they present evidence of alien bodies or alien human hybrid bodies or anything like that, what would you say to Christians in particular when this comes out? Look, here's the proof. We're not alone. Here's these aliens and these alien human hybrids. You can even test them genetically so you can verify for yourself. Here's the DNA results, whatever. What would you say to them? Guy, why don't we start with you?
They faked it. There's nothing that can't be made in a lab these days. They've been working on it, I'm going to say generations, but decades for sure. Every conspiracy from aborted baby cells, grown, cloned, to human cloning that's been going on, the Raelian religion, the sheep dolly, they claim to have one. That's just the tip of the iceberg stuff that we know about. I believe conspiracies as far as they're going to grow alien bodies in labs that demons can possess, and then they'll have their satanic armies or whatever like that. I'm not predicting that. I'm saying that that's the kind of talks that is on the table with this conversation. You asked earlier about predictions in general. I had a fair say on that already, I think, but I just want to say that the goal of the extermination or the villainization of Christianity is kind of part of this whole disclosure thing. We're the bad guys holding the planet back from evolving into the new age with our galactic lords that are here to show us the way. Creators or ascended masters, whichever. My other prediction, it's going to go one of two ways. It's almost what I said in Come Sail Away in 1997. They're either going to be here to show us the way, to help humanity evolve, help us survive through all the planetary shakeups, Matthew 24, or I love the theory that I think is so obvious that they've had to abandon it, the fake alien invasion, about whether it's like a 9/11 conspiracy or the movie The Long Kiss Goodbye or Goodnight with Samuel Jackson and Gina Davis. She's the sleeper agent who woke up, but the villain of the movie was the government Department of Terrorism, who was having their budget cut. So they had to stage a fake terrorist act. And that was what the heroes had to overcome. I think that plan has been in play per Warner von Braun a long time, but it's so well known and Googleable now. Stephen Greer just came out and said he's mad, holds J.D. Vance personally responsible because they've had to change the whole HAARP blue beam agenda now to a war between humans and aliens as the spawn of Satan. So somehow or other, the narrative has gotten changed or rewritten a little bit or just a little more fleshed out and revealed. But the whole prediction in this, like decade long, should the Lord tarry, this is just the very, very beginning of birth pangs. We're going to lose several years of news cycle before UFO disclosure and alien life and bodies comes back into everyday conversation. Right now, it's a tease. It's changing the conversation. You got Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, all of them finally talking about aliens for real. Government disclosure, as well as the theology from the evangelicals. They're letting us have our say, get it out, and then we're going to be passe. All of this aliens or demon stuff is going to be almost forgotten. We're going to die, and they're going to continue with the deception. It's a decades-long plan.
Al, what do you think? You got any predictions?
I certainly don't have the credentials of these two gentlemen or yourself. I'm just a simple God-fearing man and one that loves the Lord. But what I do know is one thing that God presses upon my heart, and I think every Christian out there, is to have discernment, is to know the truth and preach that truth. So I think the biggest thing for me is, as a Christian man or woman, is to get into the Word of God, find out what the Word says about any given topic.
Yes.
In this case, demons and so on, and see what the Bible says, and without interpretation. So, do I have a prediction? I'm all over the board on this one. I'm on forums all the time, listening and Christian forums and non-Christian forums, and I'm seeing everything on every form of the spectrum here. So Project Bluebeam, Sarah's Monast, and all of that stuff. Do I have a prediction? Not necessarily. I think both Joe and Guy were spot on with their comments, and I concur. I think they're spot on for sure. I encourage everybody, get back into the Bible if you haven't in a while, and if you're on the Bible, dig deep, just pray and fast and seek what the Lord is speaking to you. And to me, that's discernment. That's the biggest one that stands out for me. And I think if we use that frame of mind and we get into the Word, it doesn't matter what the government says, and it doesn't matter what the forums say and the people around you say, because when your foundation is the Gospels and the Word of God, nothing can steer us away.
Amen. I'm going to add to that. Thank you, because you reminded me of two things the Lord has given me to bring to this topic right now. And I just forgot them. No, that's how it goes. No, I'm having trouble with this. Pray.
It gets worse, Guy.
Say one thing you said just a minute ago, just to jog my memory. I apologize, guys.
So just being into the Word of God, discernment,
that's it, exactly.
Prayer.
You have to know the truth of this matter before the man on the TV tells you. You don't wait for the news, Tucker Carlson, or the President of the United States to tell you the truth. The truth is available now. It's in the Word of God. And many have labored for decades to make it easy and quick for you to understand. You have to know what the truth is before it's presented to you in such a wicked form. I had another little catchphrase as well, but I've just kind of forgotten it now. That was what I really wanted to get out, though. And yeah,
and
Guy, in the Word of God.
That's actually perfect, because the Word does say to always be ready to give an answer.
Yep. Right. Thank you.
And
their prediction is they want us to believe that aliens created life on Earth, and that they are the source of all ancient religions, and that Buddha, Muhammad, and Jesus were just Team Alien, Team Galactic Federation.
Yep.
If there's a rapture, then that's how it's explained, as an alien abduction, because the bigoted, closed-minded Christians who are so dogmatic about Jesus were holding the rest of us back from evolving into the galactic age. So it's either that they're ascended masters who show us the way, or they're attackers that are here, and therefore we have to militarize the atmosphere to where there will be no private industries anymore with airplanes or anything serious. Everything above a certain level will be classified military. Aliens are dangerous. Let's throw money into the war machine. Just like terrorism, 9/11, whatever, conspiracies about that. It all just justified black budgets and more clamp down on our rights and privacy and stuff like that. This is going to multiply that. It's going to get, and we're going to be so scared of the aliens, we're going to ask for it.
Yep. Yeah.
You're right.
Yep. Right. And I keep coming back to these verses again, but be on guard. I have told you all things beforehand. They're going to perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect. But once you see these things happening, then you will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory.
Amen.
The reason for, if possible, the elect, that goes back to the strong delusion where they're talking about there. It's, if you're not grounded in the Word, this delusion will be so powerful that it will deceive you. And that includes Christians too, that are talk the talk and not walk the walk. You know, if you're not grounded in God's word and you don't know how to look at this from his perspective, you're going to fall for this lie. And that's what the strong delusion is there for. That's what God is looking for. He's looking for who's with me and who isn't. And let's find out. You know, that's just looks like the separation of the wheat from the chaff to me.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah, the Book of Kings, the Heavenly Council said, you know, God wanted the king dead, and actually said, in the court of heaven, not to a bunch of demons, but in the court of heaven, who will go, or give me a plan? And a spirit in heaven said, I will go and be a lying spirit in the mouths of his prophets. That's your Old Testament verse for Thessalonians' grand delusion. If you don't love the truth and be saved, God himself is going to send powerful angelic delusions to make you believe the lie. You want an example? Mormonism. You want an example? The Raelian UFO cult. You want an example? Islam. God sends angels. Galatians 1:8 does not say if an angel from hell brings you another gospel. The angels in hell are bound, in my theology. God sends angels from heaven to lie to your face and to test you. Do you test the spirits or don't you? Do you know the word? Can you rebuke an angel if he's telling you a lie? You should, because if you don't, you're going to start the next UFO cult, because you're going to obey him. You're going to believe him. As Joe said, it's all powerfully convincing, and God has made it to be convincing. If you don't love the truth and dig into the word of God and make Jesus your answer, not Joe, not me, not what anyone says on a topic. And that's what Al brought up again. It's not about personalities, celebrities, or who's right and wrong. We are all wrong on many things. We just don't know it yet. But you dig into the word of God and you hear from him, pray for discernment. You mentioned fasting even. That's where it is. You have to know, you have to love the truth, and you have to know the truth before the lie gets presented to you.
And as you and Joe have... Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
This narrative, I believe, is to weaken the church in every aspect that they can. You can't take control when there's a church in existence. We saw this, I learned this from my Russian studies when I was political science in college back in the 70s. You've got to take religion out of the system if you're going to control the government and control the people. That's, they called it the opiate of the masses. That was religion. The Soviets had to take religion out of the country to make communism work. For this country and the world, whoever's vying for power right now, they've got to take us out of the picture. They've got to weaken us to the point to where we're belittled by people that aren't Christians. You know, they're going to make it so tough on us to where we don't have a say. And the rules are going to be made to weaken us as much as possible. They know the power and authority in Jesus Christ that we have. They fear us. That's what they're afraid of. They want control. And the only way they're going to get control is to belittle us and get us to not trust our faith. And that's what's coming at us.
Yes. Joe, do you want to throw in any words on the alien bodies thing before I move on?
The idea of alien bodies, it's just like leaving the sword. I think they can leave the sword just as easy. They can leave a body. It's just a manifestation. And what is a manifestation? A manifestation is a spiritual entity that can appear in our realm. They don't appear normally in our realm, but they can appear and look physical in our realm. Matter of fact, there's a quote here I've got. In a recent podcast interview, Professor Gary Nolan of Stanford is asked by the interviewer. The interviewer says, "You have told me that you believe on evidence that there are non-human technologies on this planet." Professor Gary Nolan says, "Advanced capabilities. I don't know if it's a technology per se. I'm leaving it open to the idea that it's some form of consciousness that is non-material." Even there was a super physicist that Sarfati, he made a comment too when he was asked about UFOs. He says, the way I see a UFO is what we see in the appearance of the UFO or the object is only a skin. What's inside is consciousness. He just described a spiritual manifestation.
Wow.
Can they leave that physical? What happens in a physical manifestation is they're taking things that are already in the environment, atoms, molecules, gases, whatever, liquid, whatever it takes, and they're combining it to make that appearance. Okay,
they're cooking new recipes.
They're cooking new recipes. That's what the appearance is, but it's still not that. Okay, just like when they manifested in the Bible, angels manifested as physical beings on earth. Were they actually human beings? I doubt that at all. People said, oh, but they ate dinner with them. Excuse me, the whole concept of eating dinner has got nothing to do with them being physical, real physical or not. What they were doing is, of the time and the culture, they were doing what people did. They ate with them. That's what they were making a point of. Okay, it's not that they had the ability to digest food. Absolutely not. They're just a manifestation.
Could be true, though.
They both could be.
True there.
But odds are it's not. Odds are it's just a simple manifestation, simple for the time being, and that's it. Because they don't stay. None of them ever stay.
Right.
Where does the food go?
Don't know.
Star Trek dematerializes on the way down.
Maybe.
Don't know.
If they hang around for a couple hours, do they have to poop?
I doubt it. I don't think Jesus did after he left the tomb and he walked around for 40 days.
Right.
He ate fish.
He did, but that was custom. That's what he did. You ate with people. But did he need it? I doubt it. I doubt he needed anything. He was a spiritual being.
Well, not need, but you're right. But did Jesus or the angel's mouth produce saliva in the process of chewing the food is the nitty gritty that we're going to be bandying about for years, probably. And if they could produce the saliva, can they produce the sperm? I put that in the Roswell Daily Record. Joe knows he's arguing against one of my columns. Right? We do this for fun. This is not animosity.
If that's what it takes, if it's what it takes to leave sperm, that's fine. But I don't believe the sperm is going to match with a human ovum and create a being. That's not going to happen.
You say after its own kind is Genesis, the rules of the road. We say that's why they produced abominations. They broke the rules and produced giant Nephilim abomination that had to eventually, they got out of hand and had to be dealt with. Well, just
the only difference is now God allowed it to happen then. Okay, he knew what was happening, but right now, he's making it happen. Remember, the strong delusion comes from him.
Right.
It's only being perpetrated by the demonic, and they're under rules, just like Job was. The story of Job, they had rules to go by. They couldn't kill Job, and I don't think they're going to kill us. That's not what the purpose is of the delusion. The purpose of the delusion is to deceive. The only thing about it is to take your eyes off the one true God and look over here. That's the purpose of the delusion.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay, so got some questions from the comments. Question I want to know, with the experience everyone has on this podcast, has this influenced your faith in God one way or the other, with what you have studied or learned? And if so, why? Floor is open. Who wants to take it on?
I'll just throw it out there in the dark real quick, but I think it's nothing. It's done nothing but strengthen my faith. And the reason I say that, I seem to be in the Word even more so than before this file dump and everything else. And the more I talk with people, the more I find there's almost and I mean this in a very, very respectful way, but a genuine ignorance to facts, where people are jumping on bandwagons and everything, uneducated on the topics or uninformed. And I think it just goes back, for me, I go to the Word. And it seems like the answers are there and the Bible interprets itself. So I think for me personally, it's strengthened my faith.
People who aren't rooted and grounded in the Word are being challenged by this. The group that you happen to be talking to was just asking God about it. We perhaps were called in some way. I think the general reaction out there is this is designed to be faith shaking. All of this disclosure stuff, when they say that all of your earth religions were based on these encounters and these extraterrestrial visitations, and you were just stupid and called them gods and angels back then, this is designed to wreck the Bible.
Yep.
It doesn't wreck the Bible. The truth is in there, but you have to, we're back to the same thing. Word of God, you got to ask and you got to take it to the Lord now. We're not going to act like Noah. The doors are closing. Repent. The time is here. I've even in this conversation said, a decade from now, before news and UFOs and bodies could still be possible. I could die before all this plays out, should the Lord tarry. Just because we all have identified the moving parts of the end time deception. And now for the first time, we have the president of that's big. We've known this for decades. Everyone from Hal Lindsey to Chuck Missler to David Allen Lewis and Shrekkies, Bill Alner, decades has been saying, here's what's going to happen. What just happened? The president of the United States is using the word UFO and alien in a sentence. That's different now. That's huge. And it does deserve the attention we are all giving to it. But I promise you, it's already yesterday's news cycle. After the festival and all that stuff, it's another cog. It's another step in a long-term misdirection deception.
All righty. So we should call it a night. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on, all three of you, especially because this was kind of thrown together at the last second. Just, hey, we need to deal with this now.
Yeah.
Now, I want to give you guys the opportunity to throw anything in there that you want to say before we call it a night. Is there anything you guys want to add? Or yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Yep, we got a couple gigs coming up. Like I said, I'll be in McMinnville, Oregon next weekend. Anybody who's watching this, it's out that way. Come by and see us. We'll be at the Awakened Church there in McMinnville. I'll be speaking on Saturday and Sunday, 2 different sessions. Then we got Roswell, the July 4th weekend. That we'll be there. Come see us there. I have another gig coming up in November at Post Falls, Idaho. I was up there last year, and looks like it'll be a little bigger gig this year up there, more presentation. So that I'm looking forward to that. So if you're up there in the Northwest area again, come by and see us. We'll be posting all these things on our Facebook and YouTube and X and all that stuff. Just want to remind everybody about Guy and I's new book, The Red Flags of Ufology. And I
didn't know about this.
Oh yeah, just came out this year. And
show the pictures in the back.
What's that?
Show a couple pictures in the back.
Oh yeah, Guy's whole presentation on Roswell.
Nice.
All the PowerPoints, and I read it as
everything.
I read it as a speech.
Okay, nice.
The whole thing is included.
Now, where's that? Where can they get that book?
Alienresistance.com.
Yep. On alienresistance.com. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. This is another one I just produced, a small one. But I wanted to do a follow-up with UFO End Time Delusion from my mentor, David Allen Lewis. And I put together UAP End Time Delusion as a follow-up. So those are 2 new ones that are out there. They're on Amazon. They're in Kindle. They're in paperback. They're in audio. So whatever your choice is on that. Okay. I've tried to make them as cheap as possible so people can. We're all about getting the information out there.
Yeah,
I've been blessed. I've been blessed with my dream job, so I don't have to do this to make a living.
Right.
I wanted to mention that earlier today, we said that Jackie Allner, ChristianSentinel.com, a little older than me, but a defender of the faith for decades. Her and her husband, Bill Allner, wrote 2 seminal UFO books published by Christian publishing houses in the 90s. They are they're the kind of, or she now because he's deceased. He spoke at 2004 and 2009 at our conferences, and she was with him both times. So she's been to Roswell. Joe and I, we were pretty sure we didn't want to add anybody. But we are honored and blessed beyond compare that she is going to be in the room on stage as a third person answering these questions on July 2nd, alienresistance.com, that whole session we're talking about. And I just did a 90-minute interview with her today on YouTube. And
Great show.
I was kind of, thank you. I was dreading turning around and having to say the same thing. No, it's completely different, isn't it, Joe, than what we covered here? Yeah. So, but I basically give her the opportunity to reintroduce why she's the bomb and the boss. And if you can think of all the people in ufology, or specifically Christian ufology, you would want to see on a stage with Joe and I, this is the only one that we were both like, yeah. Well, there was one that we agreed on, won't say the name. What do you want, like $5,000?
Yeah.
To her credit, Jackie said, I'll be honored. And she immediately sent me her plane ticket that she already purchased without even, we didn't talk about compensation or anything. That's when the Spirit of God is moving. But both of us witnessed, wow. And she lickety split said yes. But she, again, I was peeking in her husband's book before I even wrote Come Sail Away. So they're that category of people that have forgotten more than I do, or she is now. I keep saying that, but has forgotten more. She's going to keep Joe and I straight, actually. She's the more or less the moderator. He's the good cop. I'm the bad cop. She's the maybe referee. And she has gone down some, you watched the video from today. I was really worried at first. That video that she played, I'm like, oh my God, is she nuts? Did we make the wrong call by inviting her for a second? And I realized, no, she's just following the UFO researchers who are doing what you did, Jubinator. She is following people that are ripping apart these files, and she's been watching them for a long time. But anyway, that is it's the balance we need, or whatever, the cord of three strands on stage. But on my Facebook page earlier today, you can see Faith Meets Finance. We addressed to the Perry Stone pastors meeting. I'm using a new phrase now. We all know about this. We didn't talk about it tonight. But the new phrase is, we are the pastor's equipping session the devil warned you about.
One more thing I want to clear up. You brought it up. It started at the beginning of this talk, and I didn't get a chance to chime in. This pastor meeting that happened, I already met with those guys, not the pastors, but the ones that they met with a year ago.
Right.
Nothing new. They just made a big thing about it. They weren't government people. They weren't government people. They were special forces guys that know how to do this kind of stuff. And they're trying to gather as much information as they can. They're all Christians. They all fought together. So good group of guys. They're doing something. They have avenues and accessibility that we haven't had over the years. So all they were doing was just sharing what they'd come across so far.
Yeah.
So.
And Eaters of Dead has been posted another comment, which I actually wanted to end with. Do not be afraid. These things must come to pass. Fear is the mind killer. Thank you for that. Which brings me right back to the verse that we started with. And I'm going to keep harping on this. What I tried to focus on tonight was trying to show people that no matter how freaky some of this stuff looks, I'm looking at it, I'm going like, yeah, this is all man-made. And what little is spiritual, as Joe and Guy have documented over on CE4research.com. So it's the letters CE and then the number 4 for Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, CE4research.com. You can go and read testimonies of what? It's got to be over 100 people now, eh?
Oh, yeah. There's at least 150 on the website. I've got more in the book that I put out. There's plenty more that I can't share because I have to get permission to share them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
over the years, I've worked with well over 700 experiencers, testimonies all the same. They've been able to terminate the abduction experience through the name and authority of Jesus Christ. And as a life pattern by personal relationship.
Yes, and that's key. It isn't just invoking the name of Christ. It's a personal relationship. With God the Father through Jesus Christ.
Jackie Allner even brought up today, yeah, Paul I know and Jesus I know, but you? No.
Yes, exactly. And so the point being, the majority of what we're going to see is human tech, humans doing things, messing with human DNA. Who knows what's coming down the pipes? Don't be freaked out by it. Don't be taken off guard. It's really even the little bit of the spiritual stuff that we're going to see, as you can go and read for yourself over and over again for the testimonies of hundreds of people. It is the power and authority of Christ. These demons, is just what they are gone permanently. And even, which I didn't bring up the quote, but even the atheist and evolutionist Carl Sagan wrote in writing that these alleged aliens that we all hear about, it is more likely that they are demons than aliens.
That is a quote. He listed time travelers, spirits from the future. He ran through a short list of all the probable possible explanations. And you're right. I have that on a PowerPoint. He literally said that demons is more likely the probable explanation than aliens, just on the math and the science alone.
And that's coming from a guy who started the SETI program, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So obviously he believes there's aliens out there, and yet in all his decades of research and the decades of research of others that he quoted, the conclusion was all the same. These are not aliens that people are encountering, that people are talking to, that people are visiting and being visited by. They are more likely demons. So if atheists and evolutionists are saying the same thing that young earth creationists like myself, Bible believers like ourselves are saying, I think there's something to be said there. So with all that in mind, it's going to be more of the same. And
do not be afraid. Do not be afraid.
Yeah, look forward to it. It's
do
like,
not be afraid.
Bring it.
That's right.
You want to bring out the alien bodies, the alleged alien bodies? Go for it. Let's start this grand deception, because we see what comes next.
What we're not.
Full armor of God. Ephesians 6. Put on the full armor of God. You'll be well protected.
What we can't ignore is that our predictions of the end times and the whole Left Behind series and all this stuff has been so beat to death and satirized by now. We can't ignore the fact that what if the government just wanted to do a mass kidnapping, kidnap a bunch of people, fake the rapture, have a bunch of stuff show up in the sky, make Christians believe the end times are here. That was the old blue beam thing where we would all see Jesus in the sky. But the point is, we are so Christians, we're predictable enough and we're dogmatic enough to be played now. They could just recreate the Left Behind series with tech and crazy mega corporate level politics and stuff like that. I mean, conspiracy after conspiracy. But we got to be aware they could fake the end times just to make us look stupid or to wear us out and all that stuff. It's all to dishearten, attack, and exterminate Christianity, like Joe was harping on. He's right. That is what is behind the UFO phenomenon. To belittle us, to make us look like idiots, to make us lose heart, give up. And then with the rest of the world, if we don't know the word of God, we're going to be, I'm not going to cuss, but we're going to be scared out of us. If you don't know the word, you're going to be scared. If you do know the word, man-made stuff is going to happen. It's going to be impressive. Enjoy the light show. But when it's really, really the end of days and it's really, really angels, they're either going to come saying, do not be afraid, or they're going to come in power and glory with Jesus. So we win either way.
Yep. And enjoy the late show. I like that because that is all it is. It's a distraction from Christ.
Are you ready to rock? Come sail away with me.
Yep.
I thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, all right. Look at you. Thank you. Joe promotes me more than I do myself. Thank you,
wait. Hold that up again. I'll put you on full screen. Yeah, because you updated that, did you not?
Yeah, the original is tiny, 138 pages. This is about 250, but I just cut and paste my 2 lectures that I on. My website is alienstranger.com.
Right.
And those 2 lectures that are in that book are the updated version of Come Sail Away, UFO Phenomena in the Bible. That was the tiny, my testimony, my 1997 Heaven's Gate rebuttal, and my good freshman effort into ufology when I lived in Nashville. I moved here and I got my butt kicked theologically and by some facts. So yeah, I didn't change the beginning, but I updated and pasted 10 years later. Here's what I've learned being here at Ground Zero.
Right on.
Are aliens demons? That's one lecture. What really happened? You're so smart. You say Christian aliens are demons. Tell me what happened at Roswell. So God graced me to be able to answer that question, turned out. I was ready to move back home and pack it all in. Bro asked earlier, does all this study affect your faith? I had to tell God, am I wrong? These people that are coming to me, their parents, their grandparents, their uncles were threatened with death. Something really happened. God, do I need to go back to Nashville? I want to know the truth, even if it means I'm wrong. That's what it takes. Even if it means you're wrong and your agenda go. And that's where the whole lecture of Roswell UFO crash came from. I did not earn my rights as a researcher, knocking on doors, asking just the facts, ma'am, or going to libraries or scheduling appointments and traveling at my own expense. I used Google and the Spirit of God, apparently.
Right.
I solved the Roswell crash by God's grace. And what a good quote from today is with Jackie. The reason God gave me this, I believe, is to demolish a stronghold, belief in alien life in general. When you look at the Roswell event, the incident, go back decades now, shaping our psyche, and the festivals that are had and the money it makes is I lost my thought again. I do that too much now. Getting old, guys. But Al will remind me again, please.
It's something Jackie said.
Discernment.
It'll come to me in a second, I'm sure. But if we got to cut off the program before, I won't be offended. But I have it. The Roswell UFO crash is to the UFO believing religion what the empty tomb is to us. It is their one piece of physical fact that makes their delusion real. Our delusion is real because of the empty tomb. I can't scientifically prove it to you, but I know it's real. And their believers say the same thing. They can't prove a thing. And the closest they had to proving the aliens exist, this Roswell lecture that God gave me takes it from them. I take away the one article of faith that makes their religion seem plausible. And that is called demolishing a stronghold. Yep. Now, people that hear out that lecture, who believed in life on other planets, possibly creating us and all this stuff that Steven Spielberg and them are saying, that stronghold just got shattered, and they can, for the first time, hear, receive, believe the gospel. That's why Joe and I call it a 1-2 punch. He gets up after me. I'm the warm-up band with the historical, non-religious lecture, and then he gives his testimony. It's 1-2 punch, and people get saved.
And that's what this book is about. This book is about those red flags that you use to break down the stronghold that they're under. If you can show enough, if you can plant enough seed of doubt in their minds, that starts to weaken the stronghold that they're under. Then they're open to hearing something else and possibly the word of God. So that's why we did this. There's over 40 chapters in here of red flags, things that make absolutely no sense for this to be an extraterrestrial phenomenon. All backed up with Guy's whole presentation of 1947.
So
I like
demolishing
that
the
concept.
stronghold, and what all of us do that is weird, we all hear this accusation, just preach the gospel. But people's eyes are blinded by Satan because of these
And their
strongholds.
ears.
Jackie said that preaching the gospel is part proclamation and then part defense of the gospel. You have to demolish and destroy what they believe that is keeping them from hearing or believing what you say. Reincarnation, you got to give them Hebrews 9:27. It is appointed unto man once to die. That scripture is an example of demolishing a stronghold. Our work does that. We're not lunatic fringe. Oh, maybe we are a little bit, but it's mission purpose driven and it's of God. And Joe, especially, people get saved when the strongholds are demolished. But again, this is a pretty big one. The grand delusion, the great delusion, Thessalonians. You got to love the truth and you got to get with God and hear from him, not from me and Joe or others in this field. Like I said, we're both wrong about things still. All of us will be.
Jeremiah 33:3. That's where your answers
God's
are.
phone number.
I'm sorry. I just saw a message from a friend of mine who's saying that I'm flunking my spy school with my analysis of the star UAP.
Oh.
So he's contending the star thing had an optical artifact following it radially and symmetrically around the center. I agree. The artifact was on the opposite side of the center from the star. It was a bright white dot, and the internal lens reflections with the zoom mechanism made the pattern similar to star pictures when there's that cross that actually refractions from the diagonal mirror support. And there's more to it than that, actually, in that you can actually see. I'll just mention this just because he brought it up. I was going to point it out and I didn't. You can actually see that the camera is actually in a glass dome. It's in a protective housing, and you can occasionally see reflections of the internal mechanisms off the interior of the glass. And that's what I was originally looking at and saying, because I was tracking that and tracking that trail. But then later on, it's like, wait a minute, that trail is there way too long. So I'm open to it being a camera artifact, but I don't know. I'm going to stare at it some more. I'm still.
That's what we do.
Yep. I'm still doubting, but I'm open to it. I'm not closed to it. So anyway, okay. I digress. Gentlemen, it was so good seeing you again, talking with you guys again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the timeline and introducing and y'all making this possible. Thank you.
Yeah. And
thanks for coming to Roswell.
Yeah, that's right. I got to get down there. I don't know if I can make it for that date. It's a complex summer for me. And also thank you to all of you who joined us tonight. That was a lot of people that joined us for tonight for last minute get together. So we appreciate you as well, and thank you for the comments and questions. Alrighty, guys. God bless you all, and have a good night.
Already did. You have two of them.
God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.